you hit copper in every hole. By the way, did you see the copper price, Blaine?
I have. It just keeps running, as does gold. So let's hope this translates into higher share prices for all of us exploration companies.
Yeah, I mean, copper and gold. I mean, you couldn't have two better metals as the focus of your company. So Chuchi, digging into Chuchi, this is a huge land package. This is 16,000, hectares. It's near the Centera Mount, Milligan mine, 35 clicks from that big operation. So this is porphyry country. This is BC copper country. And this is a project that I feel needs a little bit more respect, quite frankly. You got multiple porphyry centers here. You guys focus this drill program on just one area of the project, about 700 meters strike extent, 5 drill holes, 2,800 meters. Tell us about Chuchi and what you're seeing there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Chuchi does deserve a lot more respect. It's a project that has kind of been orphaned over the years. I mean, Chuchi and Mount Milligan were kind of discovered around the same time, but Mount Milligan received that sort of extra horsepower that a lot of projects need to succeed, and Chuchi just kind of fell by the wayside. So, in reality, the last major drill program here was in 1991, and if you were to look at some of the drill results table, that's where most of those holes have been highlighted from. Although Centerra did get in with a small drill program in 2019, but this is the biggest program since 1991. What we're looking to do here is, I mean, you already do have a historical resource at Chuchi. It's characterized as a geological resource of about 50 million tons, grading, 0.2 to zero point 0.4 copper, 0.2 to zero point 0.4 gold. So, I mean, there is something there. Historically, though, most of the drilling was quite shallow, and that's no surprise. I mean, that's typically been the case. The drilling in 1991, average depth was about 150 meters, and a lot of the holes ended in mineralization. So we feel there is great potential here to continue to grow the size of the BP zone along strike and to depth. And that's what we were trying to do on this program. Since we originally acquired this from Centerra in 2022, we've done ZTEM, we've done IP, we've done mapping, and we actually planned to drill this program last year, but the fires were so bad in BC, we were unable to. So we were really happy to get in there. I'm looking forward to reporting results from this project. Again, I think it's a project, like you said, that hasn't gotten the respect. And one of the other great advantages with this project, unlike some of our other porphyry projects in BC, is that it's completely road accessible, and it's only a 2-hour drive from Fort St. James, and that makes exploration that much easier and that much cheaper. So looking forward to getting back there.
All right, just checking with our listeners, make sure that everybody's hearing myself and Blaine okay. Can you let me know? I mean, I'm hearing him fine. Um, hmm, weird. Okay, I mean, I'm hearing him fine. He's hearing me. So the Chuchi drill program, I looked at the news release and I kind of zeroed in on hole 73, which appears to have been something that basically your geos on site sort of called an audible here based upon what I'm seeing, and you drilled this one specifically to target a potential higher grade core of the BPZ zone. Like, what can you tell us about that?
Good observation. Yeah, I think we're eagerly anticipating the results of hole 73.
Okay. You put some drill picks in there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at that core 500 meters down hole. Looks like some pretty nice chalcopyrite. But I like the core of hole 74 that you put even better. That looks fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of drill core porn in the news release. It's it's something that's kind of expected nowadays, and we're just very cautious. Again, these are just samples. These are obviously not representative of the entire whole. Basically, we're just trying to show and tell people here that listen, we did intersect copper mineralization in every hole, and here's a few shots of what that looks like. But again, it should be no surprise that we have because we are drilling in an area that has returned copper gold mineralization in the past. And the goal of this program really was to confirm that and look to extend that to depth. Subsequent campaigns will be focused, on continuing to try to expand along strike and depth, and potentially testing some of these other porphyry centers. And as you kind of pointed out, I mean, the BP zone is just one target area, and that's kind of the low hanging fruit because most of the work has been done there. So it made for us in our inaugural drill program to start there. And I hope in the future we'll be able to go and test other potential porphyry centers.
All right, so hole 73 was drilled to a downhole depth of 588 meters, and you drilled it to the northeast. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And the news release, you have this 3D ZTEM model graphic in, I believe it's figure 4, showing the conductivity getting a little stronger to the northeast. I mean, did that help, the targeting of that hole?
A little bit. I mean, I think when you look at the work we've done with the ZTEM and the IP, and as we mentioned in the news release, also, our current drilling help guide subsequent drill holes, and we do believe, like again, as you're saying, I mean, it looks more interesting to the northeast, and that would probably be where you're probably going to focus a little bit more time and attention in future drilling.
Mhm. Okay, so what's the strategy now at Chuchi? I mean, obviously you get your results back over the next few months. You interpret the results, you publish them. Have you now earned 75% of the project?
No, we have not. And that's why this year's drill program was so important. We do have exploration expenditure requirements to be made. We optioned this from Centerra, and we had to spend 2.4 million by May of next year to keep the agreement in good standing. So this drill program ensures that the agreement remains in good standing until 2026. So that's why not only did we feel that Chuchi offers a fantastic discovery opportunity, we wanted to make sure that we keep this agreement in good standing. We didn't want to take the risk of potentially losing this project. So that's why there was a big push for us to drill it this year.
Okay. So then what's next for you at Chuchi, you think?
Yeah, we'll wait for the results. I'm hopeful that the results will be sufficient for the market to want to fund subsequent drill campaigns. We know we've got something here at the BP zone. The real goal will be demonstrating that we can continue to extend that mineralization to depth or getting even higher grade. Very similar to what we did, back in the day with Kliyul when our inaugural drill program in 2021 was only a 3-hole program, but returned even better grades and was able to take it to depth. So I'm hopeful we can do something similar here with Chuchi, breathe some new life into this project, and give it the horsepower it requires. And that's often what a lot of these projects take.
Okay, and then you guys have had several work programs going on throughout the summer. So tell us about what's been going on at some of the other projects.
Yeah, so I mean, our goal is to become BC's leading copper gold exploration company. I think we are one of them. We have 5 copper gold porphyry projects in BC. So we had campaigns on 3 of them this year. One of them was an IP program at Redton, which adjoins the eastern boundary of Northwest Copper's Quanica deposit. It was a pretty small IP program. I mean, Redton is our earliest stage project, and the rationale behind that small IP program is really just to keep the claims in good standing. So there are work requirements that have to be made to the province to keep the claims in good standing. So that keeps the claims in good standing, but also helps further refine and continues to move potential targets forward. So we're pretty interested in one target that we further refined. Probably requires a little bit more work before you'd actually look to get in there and drill it. At Kliyul, which is our flagship, no, we did not drill it this year. But what we did do this year was fly a ZTEM survey. And why we flew the ZTEM survey is that based on, the last hole, hole 69, our last hole of last year's campaign, we feel that we're, perhaps on the edge or cupola zone of the porphyry center. So the porphyry center is yet to be identified at Kliyul. Our current geophysical surveys can't see to that sort of depth. We believe there is a center down there, obviously something that has the potential to be even higher grade. And that's what the ZTEM was designed to do, was to see deeper and help bore out that thesis that, yes, indeed, there is a target at depth, and that's what you should be targeting in a future drill campaign. We did run into a hiccup with the ZTEM survey. Some of the data got corrupted. We're currently working with the provider right now to get back in there and refly some lines, and hopefully they can get that done before the weather becomes uncooperative. But that's an important survey for us. It's an important survey for Kliyul because that will really help guide future drilling at Kliyul.
Yeah, that does seem like a very important survey. It does. I mean, basically, the last hole of your 2023 program, it ended in 45 meters of 0.58% copper equivalent.
Yeah.
Kind of, leaving you on a bit of, cliffhanger there. The front.
Yeah, and that was the deepest hole ever drilled at Kliyul, and you're right, ending in that sort of mineralization, and geologically indicating to us that we are close to a porphyry center. Now that we believe that, um, and the drilling's likely to be deeper, you really want to make sure that when you get back in there, you've refined that target as best as possible.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, basically, slide 12 in your deck. It's interpreting that the inferred source is plunging to the northeast, and that
Yeah,
seems to make sense based upon the drilling. Um,
yeah, exactly.
okay, so what else are you up to as a company, a copper and gold explorer with copper and gold doing very well? What else can you guys do to keep the market's interest, grow new followers, and make shareholder value?
Yeah, we are looking at some opportunities. Again, Kliyul is our flagship, and we have a great secondary project, RDP, which was optioned to Antofagasta. And of course, now we've just drilled Chuchi. So we do have a portfolio of exceptional copper gold porphyry projects in BC. That being said, perhaps it's also time to start looking for other opportunities in other jurisdictions. And I say that because, listen, Kliyul and RDP, we own them 100%. The claims are in good standing for a decade. So we can elect to move forward with those projects at any time. But it also means we're heavily exposed to BC. And with that, there are some risks. I mean, you always have there's always the issue of seasonality. There's always the issue of cost, and that's why I've really enjoyed working at Chuchi this year because it was completely road accessible, and it meant that your all-in per meter cost was a lot lower. So we are now looking at other opportunities in the U.S., other copper gold projects. I don't think people should be surprised if you see us make some future acquisitions in the States. And I don't think that weakens the story. I think that strengthens it. We already have an outstanding portfolio of projects in BC, all of them which we own 100%, except for Chuchi. Acquiring some other projects in the US, some other copper gold porphyry projects in the US, I think would just make us stronger.
You're talking about something that I like, copper gold projects in the U.S. So I'm guessing you're looking in the Southwest somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. One of our criteria that we've been looking at these sort of projects is has to be on BLM ground and has to be road accessible. And of course, when you're thinking about porphyries in the States, you're thinking about the Southwest. But that's not the only place they can be either. So, I mean, we've been looking at a number of projects, not only in Arizona, but also in Utah, Nevada. At the end of the day, though, I mean, you'd be looking at the Western U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are porphyry projects, though. Okay.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I love copper gold. I love porphyries.
Yeah.
There's, as far as I'm concerned, there's no reason to look at anything else. Again, very happy with our portfolio of projects in BC. This is just an opportunity for us to diversify our geographic exposure and acquire some really interesting earlier stage copper gold porphyry projects, and potentially the prize is much larger.
Yeah. Are are you following the money here in the sense that some of the talk during this election season seems to be very bullish for metals like copper, like lithium, like nickel, where the U.S. Is talking about stockpiling some of these metals, and some of the dollar figures being tossed around. Obviously, it's still early days. It's not been signed into law, but there seems to be a lot of appetite to put the resources of the country into these metals.
Yeah, I wouldn't say following the money. I'd say the money is following us. I mean, we've been bullish on copper for a very long time. I mean, Pacific Ridge pivoted to copper gold porphyry projects in 2020 with the initial option for Kliyul and Redton. And since then, we've put together this portfolio of projects. We always thought copper was an excellent place to be. I mean, you can see the supply demand gap. I mean, there are a lot of great sources out there, but it's just so readily apparent that we're going to need a lot more of it, and there isn't a pipeline. So we want to be a part of that, and we want to be an active explorer looking to make one of these significant new discoveries. As far as government support, that's great. I mean, there are a number of initiatives underway in Canada, like the critical metals element tax credit, and that's great. Obviously, you've seen some recent news from the US government looking to stockpile critical metals. And this is just, I think, going to become more and more of a dominant theme. I was saying just the other day that, I mean, we have some great schemes in Canada as far as, say, like flow through funding, or like I just mentioned, the critical metals element tax credit. And that's great. But at the end of the day, that still requires investors coming up with that money. I think we're going to need to see something where the governments themselves are actually making investments in these exploration companies, making equity investments to fund this exploration, because unfortunately, investor dollars still aren't there. And you have the seniors just continuing to, undertake M&A to kind of replace their depleted reserves. So we're still not seeing enough dollars being spent on the exploration that's going to result in the discoveries to replace these pipelines. So until investors come back and are willing to actually invest more money in exploration and early stage exploration, I think the government's going to have to start filling an important gap, because ultimately the corporates can only do so much.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make, and it's true. The corporates can only do so much. we've seen the M&A activity pick up a little bit in both copper and gold. And this year there's been some notable transactions, including the Osisko transaction, the Sentiment transaction in gold, and then the Philo transaction in copper. But those are very big deposits. Two of those are in production. It seems like we're starting to move down the food chain, but not really into the juniors in a big way yet. What's your sense for where we're at in the M&A cycle?
Yeah, on the M&A cycle, I think I mean, it's always going on. I mean, at certain points of time, there's more activity than others. But as far as that trickle down, we're not seeing as much as I would expect, given where metal prices are trading. So I don't know what has to change. Maybe maybe gold has to be 3,000. Maybe copper has to be $6. But at this point in time, you still don't have big inflows of capital into the junior resource space. I suspect we'll see more with additional M&A. I suspect we'll see more as you have these seniors throwing off tremendous amounts of cash. But ultimately, we need those dollars to make their way to the exploration space, so we can make those discoveries to make money for investors. And I think that ultimately is what's going to help drive more money. We need to create, for lack of a better word, FOMO. There's got to be momentum, and if we don't have the dollars going into the ground, you don't have the discoveries that can do that.
All right. Yeah, very, very well said. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how this plays out, and if we do get government really putting their capital into the exploration game. It seems a bit far fetched right now, but I think you're right. It has to happen at some point, hopefully sooner than later. Final word, Blaine. What kind of news flow can we expect from the company over the coming months?
Yeah, so first and foremost, initial results from Chuchi. Um, some of the results, the IP survey results at Redton, and hopefully we can get this issue resolved at Kliyul, and it'll, they can fly it and show us we've got a big bullseye at depth.
Perfect. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This will be up on my YouTube channel at Goldfinger Capital tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Blaine. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a great day. Ciao. Bye.